And once again, welcome back to Immersion Church. Hopefully you're enjoying the promises of God. We've been doing these for a while now, since the beginning of January. And hopefully you've started to see that there are some interesting things in the promises that the Lord has revealed to us through this study that we've been doing of these 12 promises. And, you know, I really appreciate what's been fascinating to me about this process, because Chris and I we haven't talked at all about this teaching, other than these were the 12 promises, and he was going to do the odds and I was going to do the evens. That's as far as our conversations have gone. And yet, as fascinating as we lay these things down and we start to develop them and they come out and we record them, there's a bigger picture here, and hopefully you're seeing that, and hopefully you're starting to glean from that bigger picture. and hopefully it's having a positive effect on your life. You know, if nothing else, all we ask is that it is driving you to Jesus, right? Because that's our mission here, is to drive you to Jesus. A lot of people ask us, what are you guys? We're signposts. Chris and I are just signposts. He's that way, go that way. And so it's just an encouragement, you know, if it has been, you know, if there's been growth in your life and you started to discover some things that you weren't aware of before, maybe. And I'm talking about those things that maybe the little dark secrets, right? We all have them, right? Not so much just, hey, God took me and, you know, I touched the lives of 4 people. You know, now God really showed me I'm a jerk in this area, and he said I have to change. That's the kind of stuff we're really excited to hear about, because it means the Spirit is actually actively moving in you, right? So anyway, just kind of plug in the program a little bit right there. So we're finishing up this week on the promise of God's cleansing, right? And hopefully you've looked at the previous messages and you've come to discover, as I did, that love is such a key component of this promise, and as well as all the other promises, but certainly it's the activator for what's going on here, right? This process of cleansing, because it's being motivated by God's love, first for us and then for his creation, right? So it isn't just an individual love, right? And we talked about that previously a little bit, okay? So in previous videos, we learned that God's promise of cleansing requires his process, and he decides what is clean and how that cleansing occurs. And we've been made fully aware of the high penalty for ignoring his way, right? There's a cost to not, doing what he encourages us to do. We talk about this all the time. God's love is unconditional, but his promises have conditions, and they have requirements. And don't take lightly these things and just say, oh, he loves me, it'll be okay. He wouldn't have put the requirements there if that were true, right? So there's something there. So please take that to heart. Take it to him in those times where you're face to face with him. However you do that in your prayer time, in your closet, however you do this, you know, where you hear him and ask those tough questions and listen for those tough answers. Because without it, you could be ignoring his way. And as we discovered in some of the previous videos, that's not a good thing. So, and lastly, we discovered the power of his love, right? Last week, we talked about the power of his love, preparing us, his love letter, and this is where we're going to finish up, we're his love letter for service as his body, right? So this is really the purpose behind the promise, if you will. It isn't just enough for us to be cleansed, right? It's enough for the body of Christ to be cleansed in such a united way that it's actually functioning and performing in the earth under the head of Jesus Christ. This is the mission, this is the call, this is the purpose. And really, if you look at all the promises we've covered, it really is all about bringing us into agreement with him and unity with him and one another, so that in that place he can then use us as his body and we won't be dysfunctional, right? So this is where we're at, and we're going to finish up here talking about this, that we are this love letter, and what I mean by we are God's love letter. So let's begin with, you are our epistle, written in our hearts, known and read by all men. Clearly, you are an epistle of Christ, ministered by us, written not with ink, but by the Spirit of the living God, not on tablets of stone, but on tablets of flesh, that is, of the heart. See, so beautifully is Paul demonstrating here the reality of who we are, right? And it's profound. I mean, there is some contention in the earth about the Word, the Bible, different parts of the Bible, the epistles, right? There's disagreement, right? People have different ideas on different parts of it, right? But the reality is, the living epistle that you are and I am, when we come into agreement fully with him individually and then agree to come corporately into agreement with what he's doing in his body, there is no argument. He's the judge. He's the jury. He's the one who says, this is my body. I'm the one who's the head. You're not. You're the members. And so we know that. And Paul talks about that. And I think we've relayed some of those scriptures. And certainly you can look them up in Corinthians as well and other places. But the reality is that what I'm trying to make sure that we understand here is what Paul's declaring here to the Corinthian church, right? That Christ has declared in us his epistle. Do you get that? Think about it as he is the Word, right? He is the Word. Jesus is the Word. Go look those scriptures up, right? And if he is in us and we're in him, then is it safe to say that his Word is in us and it can come out of us? Right? This is what I'm talking about. And I want to encourage you that don't just think of it as words, okay? Please don't hear that it's your mouth that declares what Christ is and who Christ is. The reality is what Paul's actually saying here, if you look into a little more depth of what he's speaking here in Corinthians. He's actually speaking about the actual lifestyle that they're living as being a confirmation of the work that they did in their presence as ministers of Christ. So do you see it? He's actually declaring in this moment that you actually, Paul's saying, because you reply in these positive ways and you're living out these precepts and these things that I've instructed you in, your life now declares, and people can look at it, all men, right? It says all men, can now look at it and they can read Christ's epistle. Don't miss that. It's a powerful declaration of that it's not our words that are going to change people. It's our life that will change people. And it's only if our life is actually his life being expressed through us. Because we're nothing, right? All we can be is a willing vessel, prepared, cleansed, emptied, made full, going through that process that we talk about in Luke all the time of denying ourselves, right? All of these things. And putting ourselves in a position to say, use me. Here I am. Let me decrease, as John said, so that you may increase. And in this moment, if you choose, Lord, speak through me. If I'm in a crowded room and you desire to share something with one of your children, my lips, my tongue, they're yours, Lord. Use them for your glory, right? This is the power of what Paul's actually speaking to here. Don't miss that. It isn't unreachable for us. This is actually what Christ purchased. This is the power of that love that we learned about and that we're learning about. We'll never fully comprehend the love of God, right? I mean, how can you comprehend the eternal? Because it says God is love. How can you at one point say, I'm good, I got it. I'm at the point of good. It's not going to happen, folks. Just not going to happen. In fact, when they tried to call Jesus good teacher, he said, why are you calling me good? There's only one good, and that's the Father. So kind of take that to heart. Just bring it into balance with everything that's going on in your life. And trust me, I understand these are very trying times right now that we're in. And it can be very difficult to love right now. But aren't these the true tests of the validity of the letter that you are? For your very lives are our letters of recommendation. Here's where Paul's talking about it. Letters of recommendation. Permanently engraved on our hearts, recognized and read by everybody. Do you see the power of this process? As a result of our ministry, you are living letters written by Christ. Not with ink, by the Spirit of the living God, not carved onto stone tablets, but on tablets of tender hearts. Now that's the TPT. I originally gave you the New King James. I just wanted to share so you could maybe grasp the fullness and the richness of what Paul is truly saying, what he's encouraging us to enter into, to become, if you will. We can't do this on our own. All we can do is make ourselves willing. Here's a blank sheet, Lord, write on me. What is it you choose to write on me? Use my life for your glory. Isn't this what we say all the time? Lord, let my life represent you. Well, here you go. Here's another in-depth way to look at it and see the power of that and the expression of that will transform the lives of people that you may never know are even watching. And you won't realize the reward until you get to heaven and you go, what's this? And he goes, oh, that's because all these people watched you. I didn't even know these people. No, but you lived me in front of them. You introduced me into a dark and dying world. And they said, what is that? And that was the question that initiated their journey toward me. You don't know. You don't know who's reading you. We hear, my life's an open book. Let your life be an open book for Jesus, right? Let anybody read what they want to read out of you, but make sure you've allowed yourself the discipline to bring yourself under the correction of a loving Father whose Spirit dwells within you. And you go through that process continually and regularly, and you admit that you fall short and you make mistakes and you can do stupid, dumb things, right? But the value of being that person, you don't understand who's watching. You don't understand who's reading your life. So I just encourage you to go there, right? It was several years ago. It was late December of 2018. I think it was the 29th of December 2018. Chris released a word, and it was called Promise to the Obedient. And I'll have Marcus put a link to that word down in the notes, just so you have it. And this is important. As I was going through this idea of the currency of heaven was birthed in this moment. And the Lord started to speak to us about the currency of heaven. And that was a new phrase to us. We didn't understand it. We didn't really comprehend what he was saying. But he opened it up and he shared with us that the currency of heaven is nothing but people. People are the currency of heaven. And why is that important here? I think it's important here as a transition for us to realize that the why that cleansing is so important, and all these other promises too, but I'm focused on cleansing right now. The why of this is, why is it so important? Why does it have such value in the eyes of the Father? Because it's about him reclaiming the currency of heaven, and that's you and I. So if we can get his perspective on that, right? If we can flip ourselves over and to understand when we're looking at each person that we encounter, that there's value in the eyes of God, that the Lord is looking at that person, they have a value. And if we've allowed ourselves to be disciplined by him, perhaps we can go to the place of asking, what is the value in this person? Lord, help me to see him with your eyes. Help me to experience them with you. Help me to be in the back seat and watch as you encounter someone, right? What a powerful moment, right? Has any of you not been changed the moment you encountered God? The reality is we change, right? We come into a fuller, greater understanding of who we truly are in that moment, right? And then there's a process. We know it's not instantaneous, but it does change us. It makes possibilities, right? And that's what's so exciting. So anyway, we'd gone through this, and why do I bring this up? Because I think it's an important point to make sure that we don't miss that whatever our true focus is, the Father's focus is people. His focus, everything he's done, is to redeem all, right? He has a heart to redeem all, right? Yes, you're important in the process of redemption. You're important to him. You're special to him. I'm not discounting that, but it doesn't stop there. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than me, right? And I just don't want us to miss that. I kind of want to drive that point home a little bit. And it was so, and normally this wouldn't be a big deal, right? This word, it's a very good word. I encourage you to when at some point go listen to it. It was really the opening of something, and I'm going to share with you now what the opening was, because later that night, around 9:00 that night, Chris and I were on the phone, and we had a shared vision. And we went into this shared vision. And I'm not going to go into the detail of the shared vision, but the reality was the shared vision was all about this incredible place in the kingdom. I'm not going to say heaven. I'm going to say the kingdom. And it was a structure. It was a building, and it had very distinct markings on it. And we went, and I'm not going to go into all that. But the point is that the Lord said, "This is my bank." Don't miss that. What do we put in banks? Currency, right? So don't miss that. And that's why it's so important. I want to stop here for a moment. I want to sail here for a moment just to talk about this before we go on, because I think it's a critical step to understanding that something in December of 2018 was open, because during that vision that Chris and I had, he was given a key to a lock. The gate was locked. It was locked. You couldn't get to the structure. It was locked. And in that vision, he was given a key and he unlocked the lock and he opened the gate. And the gate was open. And you go, Mark, what does this have to do with me? The reality is that if you are the currency of heaven, the bank is now open, right? And has been since 2018. That's the point. Don't miss it. To become one of those deposits in this place, in the kingdom, you must go through his process of valuation. Don't miss that. And that's what we've been talking about. All the promises, this is really about the Lord, his value in you being expressed to you in such a way that you can agree with it, embrace it, and become it. So don't miss that, okay? Because it's keystone to what I believe the Lord has been doing, is beginning to do. And again, as of August, things have become activated. Things have shifted for us. I'm talking about the ministry and us individually. I can't speak to your situation, but in our situation, there's definitely been an activation. And all of this, these 4 studies came out of that process as well. So the Lord's speaking to something. And so I just want to encourage us that, this place, this bank, if you will, this depository, however you want to process that, we're united in him. It's his kingdom. It's his process. It's him. And we are united in him. Okay? It's him and him alone. We've got too many examples of religion telling us how we should be united. We should be united under this banner, this belief, this thought, this place, this practice. I'm telling you, we're in a season, have been in it since 2018, where this was opened, and we've been personally pursuing the Lord in this area to create a path or a way, a signpost, if you will, that says go that way, follow him and go that way. Listen to what he's telling you, weigh what he's telling you, obey what he's telling you. Right? So. Why is this so important? Why is it so important that we recognize that we must become united in him? This is the body of Christ. United in him. He is the head, right? We have the word, right? Clear. So therefore, I, the prisoner of the Lord, implore you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling with which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, showing tolerance for one another in love, being diligent to preserve. Here's the PowerPoint. Here's the moment of what, why. Being diligent to preserve the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. It's all him. We know it's all him. We can't do this, right? We can't do it individually. We can't do it corporately. But apparently he's trying to communicate to us that he has something he is doing corporately, but it requires each one of us to come through a process. Whatever your process is, you have to get that from him, and you have to obey that process and be obedient to that process. Processes aren't fun. Chris and I joke. Chris loves process. I'm not so much I don't so much love process, because I think I'm aware that means I have to change. And, it's like, I'm not sure I want to change. I kind of like the way I am today. Of course, you know how that works out. So I have to change. That's the point. But the reality is that we have to come into this place where now we are preserving the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There's no shortcut here. There's absolutely no shortcut here, right? All of these things, humility, gentleness, patience, tolerance, all of these things must be in love. Paul says it beautifully, right? There's no shortcut here, guys. And this is why it's so important that we come into a greater understanding of what it is, this love, this keystone of love, and what it truly means. I know we all can say, I know, I've got the scriptures, I'm just going to challenge you, take it to him, ask him if is there maybe a weak spot, a blind spot, a place for growth, an opportunity to learn something you didn't know, however you want to phrase that. Go to him and ask him. It's one thing to say, I got it. It's another thing to say, I'm not sure. I really need to ask you, Lord, what about this? Oh, I didn't see it that way. Why do you see it that way? And he'll go into that with you. He'll explain it to you. He'll prepare you for what he's trying to do in and through you because he wants you to be successful. But it requires you to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow him. And you have to be close to him, right? You have to be still and know that he's God. You have to do all these things we've been talking about. It isn't a one-size-fits-all, and you don't do one 3 times and another 4 times, spin around, spit, and you're good. There's no formula to it. There's no right ritual to it. It's a relationship. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's a relationship. And this relationship is dependent on you. And the limit of this relationship is not on him, it's on you. You can limit the relationship. Trust me, it's much bigger than anything you can hope for or imagine. Doesn't he say this continually through the word? Whatever you hope for, all these things that you desire, I'm going to do abundantly more than that, right? So is it safe to say that we don't fully comprehend what it truly means to be loved by him, to be a creature created to love him and to also express his love? Is that fair? So, bottom line, everything about why we're here and why we're dealing with all this fallen creation and still being in that place of heavenly realm, right? This duality thing that sometimes is a real pain in the tuchus, right? It really is. But the reality is he left us here because he's got a purpose in it. And this is part of the purpose. We have to mature together. It isn't enough for only a few to mature. It isn't good to have a fully grown hand on a baby's body, a fully grown arm on a baby's body. It isn't going to work, right? The baby's got to have the legs. It's got to be a full-grown being. It's got to be able to perform all these things that has to be performed. We can't just have a big heart and everything else just be shriveled and dying, right? This is why it's important that we come together as the body of Christ through the Spirit working in each one of us and bringing agreement in such a way that we could never come on our own. We just have to admit it, guys. We can't do it. I don't care what you're dealing with. Didn't Paul say it to the Galatians? You can't do it. It's only through the Spirit. This is the point Paul was making. So don't miss that. It's important. We're just going to finish here. I just want you to think about everything in the context that, the body can't mature without you. Don't miss that. If you don't come into the fullness of maturity as the part and member that you are, then God's going to have to make a choice to wait or use another part of the body to accomplish that purpose. And I don't know how that even works in the kingdom from the perspective of a body. Does one arm just over here flapping and he uses the right for everything? I don't know. The reality is, though, is he's going to do what he wants to do, and he's going to accomplish his purpose. We said it multiple times. There's delay. There is delay in the earth, right? The enemy uses this tactic. But the reality is that delay only works for so long because God's will and purpose will be accomplished. And it's going to be accomplished, folks. It's coming to the end. If you're not convinced that we're close to the end, then maybe you need to, turn on the nightly news or something. Maybe go out in your community and go downtown. Whatever. The reality is that time's running out. The creation is winding down. It's becoming old and decrepit from the weight of sin within it, right? It's falling apart. So, the point is this. As a result, we are no longer to be children tossed here and there by waves, carried about by every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men, by craftiness and deceitful scheming. But speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in all aspects into him. Who is the head, even Christ? That's the who. We must grow up into Jesus, each one of us. Our mission's the same. But as he's the head, we're not. We're nothing. You cut the head off, the body's useless, right? We know that. Without the head, the body's dead, right? We can accept that, right? Without the head, the body's dead. So, even Christ, from whom the whole body being fitted and held together by what every joint supplies. Hey, don't miss this. This is important. This is speaking to each one of us as individual valued members of this body. we are to grow up in all aspects into him who is the head, even Christ, from whom the whole body, being fitted and held together by what every joint supplies. Do you hear your part in that? You're part of the supply. Do you hear that? But the only way to be the supply is to be in agreement and fullness and what he created you to be. Agreed? Or you could be cancerous or destructive, right? I mean, these things exist in our own bodies in a fallen creation. I believe they can somehow exist in this fallen creation in the representation of the body of Christ. You don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. We can all agree with that, right? We don't want to be that. We want to be in life, through life, and by life, right? We want to bring life, right? That's what we're saying. So, being held together by what every joint supplies, according to the proper working of each individual part. Oh, there it is. There's the home run out of the park, right? According to the proper working of each individual part. Don't discount your value to the kingdom. And when I speak kingdom in this context, the body of Christ. We all have to be properly working as individual parts so that the total, right? Because it says the proper working of each individual part causes the growth. There you go. Remember, talked about that image, right? That image of a baby with a grown arm. See, it's the growth of the body for the building of itself in love. So there it is. This is the power of what he's asking of each one of us. This is the revelation of in this moment the value of cleansing, if you will. But I think hopefully you're hearing that there's more to this than just the cleansing that we're talking about, right? Being founded in love in this way, greater love has no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. Have you ever thought about that scripture in the context of you? Are you expressing that love, laying down your life for your friends? It doesn't say brother or sister, loved ones. It says friends. Don't miss it. It's an interesting choice of words there that's translated friends. There's meaning there. They can bring clarity to you there. Don't just read it and take the word as what it is. Give yourself something that tells you what the in-depth meaning behind the words is. I happen to use multiple translations that have the Strong's behind it. And so when I have a question about a word, I dig into it and the Lord will prompt things. And then I'm going to be honest, there's some definitions I don't understand. I got to pull up my Webster's 1828 dictionary and go, what does that word mean? And it's like, oh, and so that's my process, right? But the reality is that this thing is real. This body of Christ is real. And you being in Christ are part of that body. So are you a part of the body that is bringing growth and a building up in love? Or are you a part of the body who's restricting growth or preventing growth and maybe tearing down? And that certainly isn't love, right? So again, like with everything we talk about, everything we bring to you, take it to him. Ask him first and foremost, is Mark just whacked out or is he actually speaking something from you? And then if he is, how does this apply to me? What do I do with this? How do you want me to engage with this, Lord? And is there a process of growth and maturing for me out of what he's speaking of? Again, the tough questions, but that's where maturity happens, right? Growth happens, right? There's this aspect of growth and strengthening, it's in the wings of a butterfly, right? If that butterfly is helped out of its chrysalis, then it won't survive. The reality is it needs the process of breaking free, right? That part of that process of breaking free brings the strength for it to exist. This applies to us. Don't miss that. Nature's written all over the place where we can understand things from God's perspective. And what he's saying is the process is tough because it needs to be tough. It needs to be tough to make you tough. And you're going to have strength you never realized you needed in the time that you need it. And you won't know you need it until you need it. And then you'll go, wow, I see that was you. So just be encouraged. I hope that you take this to him and you find those ways that you can apply it to your life. Okay, let's pray. Father, I thank you for the reality of bringing, for me, a better understanding of cleansing, Lord, and the power of cleansing, how it ties into everything else, and the value of it, and how you can leverage that and use that for the body of Christ, Lord. What a powerful revelation. I'm certain I'm going to continue to grow and mature in my understanding of cleansing as you speak to it further in the days and years to come. Lord, I just ask that you would move upon the hearts of those who are listening, Lord, and that you would speak to them so clearly in a way that only you can speak to them, so that they recognize it's you. And in that moment, they can come to an understanding and an acceptance of what it is you're trying to bring in and through what we're teaching. For we know that everything we do, Lord, is to bring glory and honor and praise to your Son, Jesus. We don't desire anything for ourselves, Lord. We're nothing. All we ask is that you would somehow use us to accomplish your purpose in the earth, bring about your plan of redemption. And Lord, let us at least be observers of the wonderful things that you're doing. And just let us see your goodness in the earth. It's a time we need your goodness in the earth, Father. Just continue to grow and mature your body, Lord. I ask that you would continue to speak to them through all of the avenues that you have available to us, all the voices in the earth that you have speaking, Lord. And that through those voices, Lord God, they would come into a greater understanding and acceptance of the ability so that they could enter into the preserving of the unity of the Spirit in a bond of peace. So that we could become this body so well described in the Word of God, that we could become this living organism totally prepared and animated by Christ for his purpose. May we continue to walk with you, talk with you. May you continue to instruct us and discipline us, Lord. And just help us, Lord. Help us in our weakness. Help us in our blind spots. Help us everywhere we need help at. But most importantly, Lord, help us to see you in those around us so that we can participate in that growth that Paul laid out so beautifully for us. We just ask all these things for Jesus' name, that he would find glory and honor and praise in it, Lord God, that it would light up heaven in a glorious way. Amen. So this is the end of this series. Chris is going to take us into the next segment, which is going to be, I believe, another. They're just getting better. That's what I'm trying to say. They're just getting better. Now, having the hindsight of being able to see what God has been doing, personally, for me, I just see the pathway to incredible growth for me personally. Hopefully you're gleaning that as well, and that's my desire and hope for you. I know Chris's desire and hope for you as well. Continue to pray for us here at Immersion Church in Las Vegas. Continue to pray for Las Vegas. You know, we have plenty of issues here like everywhere, but we're just asking for prayer. And just ask that in those prayers we would continue to not only seek God, but that we would hear God, and we'd hear clearly and correctly, and that we would respond to clearly and correctly to that, what he's asking us to do. So until next time, friends, God bless you.